Hello learners, I am Dr. Bornali Bora, Assistant Professor in the Department of Economics, Guwahati University. I welcome you to this MOOC on Population and Society. In the previous week modules, we discussed the population theories. In this week, we'll be discussing the different aspects of Indian population. This is the first video of this week, and in the video, we shall be discussing the module 17, which is on population of India and its key demographic features. This is an interesting module where we will be discussing and exploring the key demographic features of Indian population. So far you must have understood that demography broadly deals with the study of size, structure, characteristics of a population as well as their distribution, changes throughout the time. So it entails a quantitative description of fertility, mortality and migration, often referred to as the demographic or population variables, because it defines size, growth, structure and distribution of any population. However, demography cannot be understood in isolation from the social changes that happen. So in this module, we have the broad objective of introducing and expanding your understanding of population phenomena as a social phenomena with the three characteristics: population size, composition and distribution, acting as both the causes and consequences of social change. In order to comprehend the main demographic characteristics of India, this module will firstly discuss the structural composition in terms of age and sex, and then we'll discuss the heterogeneous society in our country characterized by its unity in diversity. So we'll be talking about the linguistic diversity, the religious diversity, we'll be talking about the caste system. For population studies students, it is imperative that they comprehend that population phenomenon is an extension of the social phenomenon. The objectives of this module are to understand the age and sex structure of Indian population, to understand the religious, linguistic and caste composition of Indian population. Lastly, we'll be talking about the spatial distribution of population, that is the factors that affect spatial distribution, density and concentration of population in rural and urban areas. To begin with, we begin with the first section, which is on structure of Indian population. We all know that age and sex are the two central features of a population. Their importance lies in the fact that the interaction of demographic processes produces a population's age and sex structure. On the other hand, the demographic processes are themselves affected by the age and sex structure of the society. For example, populations experiencing higher fertility rates, that is rapidly growing population, will have a higher proportion of population in the younger age groups when compared to population exhibiting lower levels of fertility, and this influences the age and structure of the population. Similarly, a population with an age and structure where the proportion of females in the reproductive period is low will inevitably experience lower levels of fertility rates and therefore a younger population. Coming to the age structure of a population, it basically reflects the number of people in different age groups. In our country, the population is usually grouped into three broad categories: children, which are aged from 0 to 14 years. They are economically unproductive and they have to be provided with food, clothing, education and medical care. Then the second group is the working age population, which is from 15 to 59 years. They are economically productive, the working lot, biologically reproductive, and they comprise the working age population. Third category is the elderly, the 60 years and above, who are economically productive, though they may have retired, and they may be working voluntarily, but they are not available for employment through recruitment. So these are the three broad categories that population is usually grouped or classified into in terms of on the basis of age. A larger percentage of dependent population, like we already talked about, children and the elderly constitute the dependent population. So a larger population which is dependent tends to reduce the savings and investment as they are dependent on the nation's resources. It's very much like a family. What happens in a family? If you have young children, if you have older people, you have to provide for them. And that burden of providing for the children and the elderly falls on the working age group. Similarly, even for a nation, if we have a higher proportion of younger population or a higher proportion of elderly population, which together constitutes the dependent population, it will have a greater burden on the nation's resources. An index which is commonly used to measure the social and economic impact of different age structures is the dependency ratio. That is the ratio of the dependent age group, that is the young and the old, to the working age population. The higher this ratio is, the more people and each potential worker has to support. The lower this dependency ratio is, fewer people are dependent on each of the workers in a nation. In India, the age structure has been undergoing some gradual changes. Proportion of the younger population, that is in the age group of 0 to 14 years, is declining. It was seen to decline from 35.3% in 2001 census to 30.80% in 2011 census, and the percentage of persons in the working group, which is constitutes of the people who age from 15 to 59 years of age, is increasing, which means that we have a higher proportion of population which is capable of supporting the dependents in our nation. Next, we come to the sex composition of human population. It is one of the basic demographic characteristics which is extremely vital for any meaningful demographic analysis. Changes in sex composition largely reflect the underlying socio-economic and cultural patterns of a society in different ways. Sex ratio is defined here as the number of females per 1,000 males in the population, and it is an important indicator, social indicator, to measure the extent of prevailing equity between males and females in a society, and it also influences the incidence of marriage, birth, migration, and also the extent of economic activities. According to the Census of India 2011, there are 943 females per 1,000 males. So you can see that the sex composition in India is unfavorable. It means that there are less number of females and compared to the number of males. This has been also shown in the following table. The cause of an unfavorable sex ratio in India is because there is a greater risk of maternal death and high child mortality rate among female children. These have been cited as the main causes of India's unfavorable sex ratio. And both of these can be linked to the relatively lower status of women in our country. The preference for a male child is again another reflection of women's lower status in our society. The development efforts towards improving women's status and access to improved healthcare education, especially for women, can only bring about the desired results towards a favorable sex ratio. To aid them, the reproductive healthcare program should be designed to serve the needs of women and to educate them and to enable men to share the burden of family work, family planning, domestic and child caring responsibilities, and only then can we aim to achieve a favorable sex ratio. Apart from age and sex, which are biological characteristics, population can be further divided into subgroups based on religion, language, caste, ethnicity, etc., which reflect the socio-cultural fabric of a nation and has significant impact on the demographic structure and distribution of a nation. So in the next section, we'll be talking about the religious, linguistic, and caste composition of Indian population. Religion is important in demography because it determines a country's demographic structure and behavior. Religions or religious precepts have a considerable impact on society's norms and behaviors, including marriage, fertility, death, migration, among other things. For example, one of the key causes influencing female migration is marriage. And certain religious beliefs are also opposed to the introduction of family planning programs, which often result in higher fertility amongst or higher birth rates amongst certain communities. The religious profile of the population, therefore, is an important socio-cultural and demographic feature and has received the attention from the first census in 1872 till now. In the pre-independence period, there were notable variations in the data of religious information. However, there has been some uniformity and consistency now. Indian society has a large number of religious communities, but broadly there are 7 major religions. These are Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Zoroastrians. We see that majority of the population belongs to the Hindu religion. That is, Hindus are the largest religious community in India. According to 2011 census, 79.8% of population follows Hindu religion. Followers of this religion, though, are more concentrated in the northern plains and northern parts of the plateau region, they are in majority in almost all parts of the country, except for a few northeastern states. But the distribution of the other religious communities is less continuous, and they are only located in some of the pockets which have larger concentration. The largest number of Muslim population is in Uttar Pradesh, followed by West Bengal and Bihar. The largest concentration of Christians is found in the state of Kerala, followed by Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. But if we look at the proportion to total population, that it is found that Christians are in majority in the northeastern states, namely Mizoram, Meghalaya and Nagaland. As far as Sikhs are concerned, more than 3/4 of the Sikh population are found in Punjab alone. Besides Punjab, neighboring districts of Haryana and Rajasthan also have concentration of Sikh population. So these are the major religions of India. Now moving to the linguistic diversity. India, like its physical environment, possesses linguistic diversity as well. The number of languages and dialects spoken in the country are in hundreds. At the time of independence from the British rule in 1947, there were many princely states, and these states were recognized on linguistic basics. The census of India in 1951 attempted to steer clear of any controversy and counted only what people declared as their mother tongue. However, in the census of 1971, they stopped listing languages spoken by less than 10,000 people. Nowadays, especially in the recent census, that is census 2011, it was reported that there are 19,569 raw mother tongue languages, which are again rationalized into mother tongues and then regrouped into 270 mother tongues, which are spoken by more than 10,000 population. We have further regrouped and brought the number down to 22 languages, which are scheduled in the Indian Constitution, and there are 99 non-scheduled languages. Out of them, Assamese, Bengali, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, etc. are listed in the 22 languages listed in the schedule of the Indian Constitution. Out of the 22 languages that are listed, Hindi is the most widely spoken, while Sanskrit is the least. 14 of these languages were originally included in the Constitution. Sindhi was added later, and likewise a lot of languages were added later. Apart from languages, there are also variations in which language is spoken, and that constitutes the regional dialects. According to 2011 census, 57.1% of Indian population reported to know Hindi, in which 43.63% of Indian population reported that Hindi was their native language or mother tongue. Hindi is also the fastest growing language in India, followed by Kashmiri in the second place and Meitei, also officially known as Manipuri, as well as Gujarati in the third place. The 2011 census also reports and provides information on bilingualism and trilingualism, which provides data on the two languages in order of preference in which a person is proficient other than the mother tongue. So next we will be talking about the caste diversity. The caste system is something which is unique to Indian society. It's a type of stratification which is based on the hereditary and hierarchical Indian social groups, which were also called jatis. Thus, caste is concerned with birth, and peoples belonging to a certain caste can be traced back to their heredity. The caste stratification often decides the social status and position of the individuals. It is an extreme example of a closed class system which is also hierarchical, as I have already mentioned. In Hindu caste system, there are broadly 4 categories. They are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. However, it is not just limited to the Hindu religion. We have also observed there are other communities such as Muslims, Christians and Sikhs also have castes. The Constitution of India recognizes a number of castes and tribal groups which have been called the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes respectively. Every census in independent India from 1951 to 2011 has published data on scheduled castes and scheduled tribes because these communities are seen to be most backward and disadvantaged. The SC and ST population segments have shown poor development outcomes in terms of education, health, employment, etc., and have received special attention so as to develop better policies and implementation strategies for the upliftment of these marginalized classes. There are altogether 1,241 individual ethnic groups notified as scheduled castes and 705 individual ethnic groups notified as scheduled tribes according to the 2011 census. The scheduled class are by and large landless agricultural laborers and cultivators with small land holdings and small commodity producers or artisans, and due to their association with agricultural activities, their main concentration is found in the alluvial and coastal plains of the country. They are mainly concentrated in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and Bihar. Scheduled tribes, on the other hand, are seen to be more concentrated in the forested and hilly regions of the country. So their concentrations are largely found in the central Indian belt, comprising parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa and West Bengal. The northeastern region, comprising the hilly areas of Assam and Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura and Arunachal also have quite a concentration of scheduled tribe population. Now we'll come to the spatial distribution of the population. In the previous sections, we studied how the Indian population has been divided into different religions, linguistic and caste segments and their importance in the population studies. In this section, we will be briefly discussing the spatial distribution of population, that is how the distribution of population varies across geographical spaces in the country and the factors that have a contribution or the factors that affect the composition or the spatial distribution of the population. Population of a country is not uniformly or evenly distributed across the geographical territory. The concentration of population in certain areas are way more than the rest of the country. This could be due to favorable geographical conditions, climatic, economic as well as social conditions. For example, spaces with availability of water, cultivable land, better infrastructure are likely to have a high concentration of population compared to those who lack these. Similarly, you can always observe cities that offer better employment opportunities, educational and medical facilities, better means of transport and communication often draw more and more people to the cities. It leads to the rural-urban migration that we see around us. Similarly, industrial belts which provide job opportunities tend to attract large number of people. So what we see mostly is that the concentration of people tends to be higher in places which have favorable working and living conditions. The size of population of different areas can be compared in many ways. One of the ways is to compare the absolute size, but it does not give you the idea of the relationship between population and the area or the resources available. Therefore, there is another index or indicator which is usually used to provide the idea between or the relationship of a population with the area or resource base of the country. This is called the density of population and is often calculated by dividing the total population of a country or a region by the total area. Therefore, the density of the population is expressed as the number of persons per square kilometer. In 2011 census, it was recorded that the population density of India was 384 persons per square kilometer. But this does not mean that there is exactly 382 persons in each and every square kilometer of the country. Next, we come to the distribution of population in rural and urban areas. The spatial distribution of population can be also studied in terms of rural urban spaces. All places with a municipality, corporation, cantonment board or notified town area, etc. are classified as urban places, and which do not fulfill these criteria are called rural areas. Apart from this, the rural-urban division also depends on the occupational structure of the population residing in the area. We mostly see that places where 3/4 or more of the population is engaged in primary occupations such as farming, animal rearing, forestry, fishing, quarrying, etc. On the other hand, urban area is one where 3/4 of the population or more is engaged in non-agricultural practices. The total population of India spreads over 6,40,867 villages, and therefore the country is rightly called the land of villages. But the proportion of rural population has been decreasing in the successive census reports. The proportion of urban population to total population has been increasing slowly but steadily. This is also seen and observed, and this particular growth in urban population is significantly higher at 31.8% compared to the rural population, which is only growing at the rate 12.18% during the period of 2001 and 2011 census. Much of this population growth in urban areas is due to high rate of migration of population from rural to urban areas. Very often, it's because the urban areas have better connectivity, better transport, better physical infrastructure, better living conditions, and therefore provide better employment opportunities. So we see that the growth in urban population is significantly higher compared to rural population, and this is precisely because of the high rate of migration of people from rural to urban areas. This highly rapid growth of population in the cities has also created problems like supply of housing, electricity, water, school, dispensaries, and ration shops, etc. So this brings us to the end of this module. I hope you have a better idea of the importance and understanding of the structure, composition, and distribution of Indian population. In the next video, we will be discussing module 18, that is on educational scenario of Indian population.